Hi, Vera. So to start, I loved this movie because I already knew I was gonna get emotional because it's fathers and
Oh,
daughters.
good. I'm so glad.
Because it's fathers and daughters, but like you not only got to be a part of it, but you were also, one of the creatives who came up with a story and had so many moving parts within a movie like this. What for you was the joy of finally getting to see it all come together and see what this story that you created with your friends kind of ended up becoming in the end product?
Yeah, truly so many moving parts. I mean, we started working on this in 2020 at like peak sort of first lockdown in like when I don't know when that was, March or something of 2020. So it's been a while.
Mhm.
To see it now finally about to come out, be in theaters, have other people seen it and this and that. It's really surreal almost. And I still pinch myself constantly the fact that we got to make this movie and we were just me and Clara have been friends for so long, and then our director Emma is a really old friend of mine, so it's been surreal to have this project come to life and then in the way that we did it, and I just feel so proud of it. But yeah, it's completely surreal, and yeah, it's hard to believe that we actually got to make it, which I don't know that we'll ever get to do it in this way again.
Well, it's so cool because I did also love, seeing how many women were kind of involved in this story as I was watching the credits roll. I was just like, man, this kind of rules because it's not often that you see like that many women having
Yeah.
their hands in a story that is, it's about a father and a daughter, but most.
Totally. I mean, it was very important for us early on to find a female director. I always had Emma in mind for it because I know her very well. We've worked together for many years, and I thought that this could be perfect for her. I just, she had to pitch and with all the other directors and convince everyone else that she was right for it, which she successfully did, obviously. But yeah, it felt, and it's something that Clara and I in our production work focus on a lot, is working with female talent in front of and behind the camera. It's just something that, as much as it's being talked about in today, it's just not really still at the forefront of Hollywood. So we're in any way, shape, or form that we can, we always try to push for it. And it's been, there's something so remarkable about working with all these women on it, and it really is wonderful to like have all these different perspectives reflected in every step of the way. So our editor is female also, which was another thing that we felt was very important. But yeah, it was an incredibly rare, I think, experience to have as many female both crew and yes, and cast as well.
And you also not only, like I said before, not only get to be behind the scenes kind of making this right, but you also get to be in the movie too. Was that always your guys' intention to have like you and Clara play roles in this movie when you were coming up with it?
Yes, yes. And like it's something, making a movie you have to be sort of mindful of, right? Because you can only do so much in terms of as a producer incorporating yourself or putting yourself in. So we were mindful of it. I was definitely game and wanting to play a part. So when we were writing it, it wasn't totally sure what it was going to be. But along the way, we sort of quickly figured out it was going to be my character, Tommy. But yeah, it was something that Clara and I are both actors and are actors sort of first. So in everything that we work on, is this movie included sort of at the forefront of our minds to be involved as actors as well. Yeah.
Is that I used to always when I was a theater major, and when I would do stuff, I would write my own monologues and write myself into things just because I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
no
yeah.
one is writing my kind of character, so I'm just gonna do it
Yeah.
myself. Is that for you fun to kind of, I know it is a lot of the times women filling a gap that they feel exists in movies, but is it fun for you to have that mentality and get to write your own stories for characters that you want to play and not be beholden to someone else to create them?
Yeah, I think it's interesting as an actor to like write your own stuff, because you think it's inevitable to go in and not think about, oh, this is how what I would do with it, or this is how I would approach this thing, or so it's hard to step away from that, but at the same time I sort of try and embrace it and be like, well, if I'm gonna try and play this part, I might as well be the perfect person to do it. So there's a bit of both, but yeah, there's definitely yeah, I find a lot of joy in creating the roles for with certain people in mind, whether it's myself or like, you know, an actor that I'm thinking of, even if that person doesn't end up playing the role. Obviously, in this film, it was very obvious that it was going to be Clara and Ewan. But the tow truck driver, for instance, when we wrote that role in, I was very much thinking of my mother-in-law, who's ended up playing it. You know, she's my husband's in it as well. So it really is like a family affair. So in this film, it was very sort of easy to think that way, and it really became a movie that's all about family and friendship in a way too. But yeah, it was more so in this film than I think anywhere else where we got this chance to work with everybody we love. So yeah, that was pretty special.
Yeah, and you almost could have worked with Nick Cage if Clara got her.
I know. I try to ask for Nick Cage, but Clara's like, I guess it'd be sort of awkward if we didn't ask my dad.
I do love my favorite thing about Tommy is she starts this journey flirting with Ewan McGregor, which I was like, I'm a millennial woman. I do relate to this moment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then she's like, no, I'll just hang out with you guys anyway. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love that that is kind of her place in this movie is I'm
Yeah.
this older man. He said, I'm good. And she went, great, I need a ride. So I'm still just gonna hang out with him after I
Yeah.
have to like take care of this girl.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Yeah, it
Uh,
was funny playing that. It's like a little funny playing that because I've known him for so long and he's sort of like, I don't know, he's not like a dad figure, but he's someone that I'm very close with. So it's always funny to say. And same can be said for Clara having to do that scene with my husband Jake, who's an actor in it, and there's sort of a flirtatious scene. Like, she never was like, oh, I don't want to do this, but it was just like always a level of like knowing someone so well, and then having to be like, oh, kind of have to like look at each other in a weird light for a moment to make this scene work, you know. So that's always funny. But there was Ewan is such a like remarkable actor. He's never off. He's always on, even if the camera's not on him. He makes you feel incredibly engaged in the scene and comfortable. And so it was the easiest thing in the world. But yeah, it was really funny
when
doing.
I also love too that the song that you guys chose to have it be like, yeah, this song rules is a song that is so very like kind of
Yeah,
within the millennial older
yeah,
gens, like, yeah, we remember listening to this song on repeat.
yeah.
Did you guys have any kind of back and forth about like, well, maybe we should do like an older song because like he's gonna sing it, or were you guys always just like Leona Lewis is our girl?
Yeah, like we didn't really decide on a song actually going into the shooting of the film. So we were a couple of days in, and then we're like, guys, we got to pick the song now. The movie had a different title back then, so
Yeah.
so it was renamed Bleeding Love not too long ago to sort of match that song. But we were going through songs of our youth and songs that Clara and Ewan have a connection to, and so Bleeding Love came up, and I wasn't sure if people in America would necessarily, I mean, they might know about it, but it was like, Clara and I grew up in Europe and that was a huge monster hit then.
Mhm.
Everyone knows this song. So I'm happy to hear that it's something that you know quite well also. But yeah, I love that song and so did they. So that was sort of an easy choice. Yeah.
Yeah. One, it's that scene is also one thing that I like. It made me realize that that is kind of a universal feeling of like driving in a car with your dad and your
Yeah.
dad like singing along to some song and then you're just like, okay, I'm going to join in because like that was very much me and my dad. And I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
This is way more
Yeah.
universal than I kind of thought it was.
Totally. And we all know that feeling too, being in a long car ride with someone. It's sort of like having this range of it, like you sort of get in little arguments and like you get annoyed because it's taking forever and you're hungry or you have to pee or something. And so I love that too about that scene, how there's been this sort of like mood leading up to it, and then the song breaks and it's sort of like they have to just like put their differences aside and go for it. And it's so recognizable to me too. I grew up with a bunch of siblings that would always be like us crammed in the back of the car. But when that one song came on, we'd sort of, you know, you can't not go for it type thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have a one last like question because I do think this movie has one of my favorite, oh, he's so Scottish moments because my dad was Scottish and if we
Oh,
were
cool.
fighting,
There you go. Yeah.
if we were fighting, he like wouldn't know how to say anything and he would just like say wool and like leave. And because
Yeah.
Italian and he was Scottish and we'd be like, you can't fight with us. And when
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor says that in this movie, I was like, wow, that is the most is this the most Scottish thing I have seen him do, which is I couldn't figure out how to fight. I just froze. And I was like, yeah, that's part of it.
Yeah,
But there were
yeah.
so many little moments like that that I just really like connected with. And I loved
Yeah.
for you, what was your favorite moment that you got to see when after everything was said and done?
Well, I think that the thing with the Scottish, for a while, we were toying with the idea, like, should he be American? And if not, like, do we explain why he has an American daughter and he lives in America? And I was like, no, I don't think that really matters, you know. I think it's important to keep it as authentic as possible in like their own comfort level so that he doesn't have to think about an accent and he doesn't have to, you know. And I don't think you know, you can come up with your own reasons to why someone moves across the world to, you know, so that wasn't really an issue ever. And so I'm really happy that we stuck with that choice and it yeah, it just allowed them to be free. And that was one of the most profound experiences for me, is to see them work together in that way, in a way that felt so authentic and real. And obviously they didn't have to like warm up to each other really in any way, because they're really father and daughter. But then I think we got to take it a little step further than most people on set maybe can, and especially in an indie space where you have such a short amount of time to do something. You know, you got to make your hours and your days. And so it was really wonderful that for them to just be able to tap in, and that was really a wonderful thing to watch them do. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even think anything of it because I was like, well, this is an actual father and daughter who
Yeah, yeah.
act like that. So I thought nothing
Right.
else. I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Good. Well, I'm glad it came across that way. Yeah.
Yeah, but thank you so much for talking with me. I really like truly, I was so afraid to watch this movie because like my dad had died. And so I was like, am I gonna like cry a bunch? And then I did anyway, but
Yeah, good. Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
glad
I'm
I
glad you enjoyed it and that you know, that you had that reaction to it, especially having lost someone who was Scottish. That must have been difficult for you. Yeah. But thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate it.
yeah, of course. Thank you so much. And I can't wait for people to get to see Bleeding Love.
Thank you. Thanks so much,
Of
Rachel.
course, I'm gonna end the meeting, guys, but thank you.
Okay. Okay, cheers.